Hey, what's going on, guys? Steven, the Salon Guy here, and welcome to another Tuesday night live stream. I am so excited about tonight's live stream, man. Look at my hair. My hair is standing straight up. That's how excited I am. But you've seen me 8 million times, everybody, and I am really, really happy to introduce Ryan Belmonte, who is an extremely talented hairstylist. Him and I go way back. And I'm really psyched to have him here tonight doing a live haircut on his model here. Now, a few things about Ryan, besides being really talented, he's great at speaking. He's a great educator. He really knows his stuff. So I want you guys to really engage with us tonight, all you professionals, students. Like, this is real deal stuff, real education here tonight. Also, he is a fashion designer. He has his own clothing line, and he's wearing his shirt right now and his clothes. Like, he's really, really got some sick stuff. We'll talk about his fashion stuff. But I really want you guys to enjoy this, to have some fun. And, I know you're going to be asking me for requests. My biggest thing to tell you right now is if you're looking for something, go on my channel and search for it. I've probably done it already. And I appreciate you watching and being supportive, but this is real, folks. This is the real deal. So I'm going to put this on Ryan here. And now we're going to let Ryan take it away. And you see me all the time. All right, all the time. So now I'm turning it over to Ryan. So,
all right. Yeah,
man.
Steven, thanks a lot, man.
Kill it, bro. Kill it.
Really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. My name is Ryan Belmonte. And tonight I'm here on behalf of myself and Invincible NY, which is a company that I own, which we'll talk a lot deeper about tonight. But essentially, our little tagline with Invincible is that we are reimagined basics for creative individuals. And what I want to do tonight is be able to give you an opportunity to take basic foundational haircutting techniques and look at them a little bit different and kind of step out of the box a little bit. What we're going to do tonight, what I love about this technique is that it is salon friendly, but there's a lot of different options and ways that we could work off of it. Amber is my model here tonight. Super excited to cut her hair, and she gave us some limitations, but not a ton. Essentially, before we begin, I just want to go over our sectioning. I love to cut hair. And the reason why I love to cut hair is it's very literal, right? And so for those of you that are out there that are stylists in the salon, I find the difference between cutting and coloring is that cutting is factual. Coloring is a lot more opinionated, and I'll give you an example. If Amber told me that the shortest length she's willing to go to is the chin, and I cut her hair to her cheekbone, I can't take her out in the parking lot to see if it's any longer, or bring her into the bathroom and see if it looks longer in there. To the chin is to the chin. And so we need to be very precise, and we need to understand exactly how to control what we're doing when we're doing it with hair cutting. And my goal tonight is to just inspire you guys to look at things a little bit different. We're going to use our 3 foundational techniques, and as we know, elevation will control our vertical shape or our technique, right? Whether it be a line, graduation, or layering. We could also refer to that as a vertical shape of extreme triangular, or round. And we'll talk about that a little bit tonight as well, looking at technique as a vertical shape rather than just a technique, okay? Next, we need to worry about the weight distribution from front to back and which shape that we want to create horizontally, okay? So we're going to talk about a lot about that tonight. And last, we're going to focus on proportion. I think the one thing when it comes to cutting hair and choosing lengths and shapes, I find that a lot of hairdressers ignore proportion, right? And so for each shape, we have a proper proportion that we should follow. Now, do we need to exactly mimic it? No, but we should always keep it in mind. So when deciding length and shape, I'm always going to use proportion to help me determine my lengths. And what I mean by that is such that each shape has that proportion. So let's go over them real quick. We have 3 shapes. Square, proper proportion being jawline to hairline. And a proportion is as such that if it gets longer or shorter, it stays the same. So when I speak of square tonight, I want you to think of horizontal or parallel to the floor, okay? We have round, which would be temple to occipital, right? And so this is the proper proportion for a round shape. Now, if I need to change things because of head shape or face shape or structural shape within the skull, I can tweak that. But if I get too vertical on my proportion, my haircut tends to be out of whack. Being a clothing designer, the best way that I could give you an example of this is we should choose length and proportion Just like when we look at someone in the street and we say, hey, that guy's t-shirt's too tight, or that guy's t-shirt's too baggy, or that person's t-shirt is too long, but he's doing it for a purpose and a reason. And that's when we're allowed to break the rules of fashion and of foundations and proportions. So round would be temple to occipital. Last, we have triangular. Whoop. And that's going to be jawline to occipital. And so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to work within our proportions and help us to establish our shape. We're going to work externally first, and we're going to work with little to no tension on our foundation. Now, the other thing we're going to do differently tonight is we're going to approach this haircut or this shape from the front. So often we do things in life just because, right? We wake up, we eat breakfast, we go to work just because. And essentially, I like to question anything and everything and ask myself, why do I do this? And so typically as a hairdresser, I find often we start in the back. Well, if I have a guest who has a length restriction in the front, if I start in the back, I'm playing an educated guessing game until I get to the front. So what I'm going to do tonight to take out any of the guesswork is I'm going to start directly in the front. We're going to work with a square shape, and I'm going to establish my length exactly where I want to establish my length and then work off of that for the rest of the shape. So I'm starting on the left side. I'm combing the hair into natural fall. Sorry, dude.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes. Am I blocking?
Look at the screen real quick. Yeah, just always watch the screen. But look and see the comments and ask everyone how many stylists are watching.
What's up, everybody? How many stylists watching out there?
Yeah, it's good to know your audience too.
So I'm not the best at reading the comments while I work. I'm gonna try my best with that.
But Johnny, as they come in.
Yeah, Johnny, if you see anything crazy, man, let me know, please.
We got a question from Sean. What kind of section clips are you using?
Good question. These are just generic sectioning clips. I bought them the other day for $249 at Cosmoprof. The clips up here, the yellow clip, is a YS Park clip. I really like this clip. It has great tension and good teeth. So when I have a lot of hair, I like to work with this. But when I'm working with a smaller section, I'll usually use these lighter clips here so that I don't dent the hair. So we're going to comb the hair directly into place. Steven, am I blocking here? Oh, no, I'm good.
You're good right there, yeah.
Okay. We're going to comb the hair directly into the place. Now, when we work a line, I like to work with little to no tension. And so when I put a comb in, if you'll watch the hair up here, you could see that it moves. It doesn't move a lot, but it adds somewhat of tension and over direction to the hair. So I'm going to choose to cut this freehand. I'm using the proportion of jawline to hairline. And now I'm just determining my length. I'm opening my scissors and I'm cutting the hair. My sections are horizontal, and now my guide is set for the front. So I'm going to come in here now, and I'm just going to continue through with very thin sections, and I'm going to work her length in the front until I run out of hair. You'll notice I pre-sectioned this cut a bit. What I did was I took a horseshoe-shaped section just below the parietal ridge and dipped down a little bit in the crown. We'll go over that later as to why we did that. But essentially, I want to cut the foundation of her hair first and work my external shape. Then we're going to work internally, and we'll have a disconnected top for this cut.
Right. What shears are you using?
Shears. So my good friend, Mandy San Martin, hooked me up with these shears. They're Bellex Academy shears. They're Mizutanis. And so I've worked with only 2 shears my entire life, this pair and another pair. I'm a lefty, clearly, right? And so I started... I started with a slight offset, and so this is just the shear that I'm very comfortable with. These are the shears. These are 5.5s. These are the shears Mandy hooked me up with. Thanks a lot, Mandy, if you're watching. And you'll see that these I'm going to work dry and do some more detail work with. This shear being a 6-inch, I like to work a little bit of a longer shear for my outlines and my perimeters.
Johnny, anyone get feedback of the professionals or not? Or?
We got a couple stylists here. We got Clark.
Couple things. Notice I'm tapping above the ear before I cut my line. And what that's going to do is just going to relieve some of the tension so that naturally when this hair dries, her ear is not going to create a bump or a hole in my line. The other thing you'll notice is because her texture is fine, I'm working with the fine teeth of the comb when I'm combing. So I want to get this hair at natural fall, but I need to make sure that I'm combing from the root all the way through to the ends recently. And, you know, the internet's such a cool place. We're able to meet so many people. So I've met a new group of hairstylists that I've been working with recently. Ben and James, they're part of 3 Education. And they talk a lot about combing from the root, always watching our root, our tension at our root. I think so often we're worried about what our line looks like, and we shouldn't ignore that, but we want to make sure that we comb from the root and get good, clean tension from the root. So I'm always watching my root as I comb down, tapping that ear, and then cutting my line. What I'd love from you guys tonight is any questions or things. If you see something that I'm doing that maybe you're not doing, you have some questions about that, please make sure that you type in the comments so that we can answer all your questions. But as you can see, our first length is set. It's a nice square shape. And we're now going to go to the other side and mirror that original line. Now, this is where the technique gets a little bit more difficult, right? This is now our second guide for the haircut. So we're working with one guide on the left side. We need to make sure that we match that on the right side. The first thing we don't want to do is be too short on our copy side, right? So we're going to make sure that we assess this length. So I'm going to section off my first section here. And then I'm going to go back to the original side that I cut and really assess the length and see exactly where it's sitting. So I want to take some mental notes. I find that often we're very worried with the lengths in front and making sure that they match. And we should be, but we need to make sure that the lengths match in the back as well. So first thing I need to do is make sure that my line is the proper square proportion, meaning that it's parallel to the floor from front to back. And so as I go to the other side now, I'm just taking a mental note of where this length lands. Let's do that together. The other thing that we can do if we're beginner hairdressers, or we're not super comfortable with creating a new guide around the face, clip up so that there's only one section that we look at. And what this will do is it'll give me a fair assessment of the length of what my guide needs to be. We refer to this technique often as one length, but essentially the lengths are not all equal. They all come to the same point, but this section is shorter than this section is shorter than this section. So I need to make sure that I'm matching the lengths for the beginning sections. A couple things I'm looking at. I'm taking a mental note of where these lengths are falling from front to back. So I could see it's a very square line. It's falling about 1 inch under her earlobe.
So right, everyone's saying where they're from, and we got people all over the place that are watching.
We're worldwide tonight?
Yeah.
Live AF.
Florida, Michigan, Tennessee, Georgia.
Tennessee. Who's from Tennessee? I love Tennessee.
Avery.
Nashville, Tennessee, one of my favorite cities in the U.S.
Philippines. That's Jersey people.
Jersey in the house. So here we go, cutting our guide, working freehand. Notice my hand is level and parallel to the floor from front to back. Once I cut my first section, I'm going to check for balance. How do I do that? I'm going to use a mirror, right? And so I face her forward. One thing that I find a lot of beginner hairdressers do, we obsess over wet hair. The only reason why we cut hair wet is because it's easier to manipulate. And so none of my clients go home looking for a great wet haircut. They want to look great dry. So what I suggest to you is be good wet, be great dry. And what I mean is I don't want to micromanage too much. I want to be 80% great wet, and then once I dry and do my finishing work, that's where I really want to be perfect. So let's make sure that we don't overly try and correct mistakes wet. We want to be good, we want to be balanced, but I find that being perfect wet doesn't always translate to a perfectly dry haircut. Does that make sense to everyone? How's our comments over here? Tennessee. Questions, questions, questions. So, Steven, I think we got to give a little shout out to Tina.
Yeah, is she watching?
So, I don't know if she's watching right now, but
I think she is. She knows it's going down.
there was a slight error yesterday in which we posted the wrong date for this event.
I posted the wrong date.
And we just say we, Steven. It's a lot easier that way. Nobody needs to take blame. So we posted the incorrect date for the event, and my really good friend Tina Georgie showed up. She's now Tina. Well, I knew her back in the day as T-Reg. She's Tina Georgie now. But we worked together at my first salon, and we worked with a professional company together with Steven. That's how we all met. So shout out Tina for showing up yesterday.
Beauty says hello. That's her.
Ah, that's Tina. What's up, Tina?
You gotta look right to the camera. She's looking right now.
What up, T-Reg? Come see me, girl. Yeah, Tina's at Bare Soul Beauty, and she does some really cool healing work. She does Reiki and things like that, a lot of energy work. So if you're looking for some spiritual healing out there, shoot her a follow on the gram. I didn't even introduce myself. It's hashtag Runchi on Instagram. So that's spell out hashtag HASHTAG. Runchi, RUNECHI. That's my personal Instagram. And so real quick, as we wrap up here, just checking to make sure that our lengths are balanced. The other thing I'm looking at is the length in the back and making sure that there is some symmetry in that length, okay? I like the balance in the cut so far. So now it's time to move to the back of the head.
Right, just a question, did you start this? Like, I know you didn't, but could you start this in the back? Will it really?
100%. So whoever just asked probably wasn't here in the very beginning, and we'll repeat it again, not a problem. The reason why I'm starting in the front is because I just want to change the approach. I have so many clients that have length restrictions in the front and don't really care what the length is in the back. And so if I start in the back, sometimes I restrict what my length could be in the front. For instance, if this cut was much shorter to the cheekbone and I started in the back, I would never be able to reach that with a square shape. So the hairline can change, sorry. I can't change the hair around her face as much as I could change the hairline in the back. So to me, the front is where it counts the most. So with a clean bob or something like this that I'm working a line, often I'll try and start in the front. As we move to the back, we now need to choose a new length and a new guide. So this will be our third guide for the shape. We're going to come center back and split the head. I'm probably blocking, I'm sorry. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's good right there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Notice how important the combing is even when sectioning, right? I want to make sure that I'm combing all the hair from the root, keeping everything super clean, neat and organized. And so now I could choose a new shape. I could choose a new length. I have a new option for creativity, and I'm taking this and I'm assessing the length from the side. And I'm going to clip this up and out of the way.
Using the fine teeth in your comb?
Steven, I am. Listen, we could go back and forth for days, right, as to which teeth we should be using. Here's how I like to gauge it. What is the fabric telling me? Her fabric, though she is quite dense, meaning she has a lot of hairs, her fabric is quite fine on its own. And so because of that, I want to use the finer teeth of the comb. If she had a much thicker fabric, if her hair was much thicker, much more coarse, I might choose to go in with a wider tooth. But right now, the fine teeth are giving me the best control over the hair. And I think that's most important when working and cutting hair, is that we want to make sure that we're controlling the hair. If the hair is controlling us, obviously we're not in control anymore. So by using the fine teeth of the comb, it gives me an opportunity to really control her texture the way that it needs to. And just going back from what my friends Ben and James taught me, making sure that we're combing from the root, controlling from the root is of utmost importance. And so now, notice how most clients will want to lean forward to help us out here. What I need to do in determining my length on my line here is comb everything down to natural fall. If Amber starts to tilt her head forward, she moves her length forward. And I might choose a length that's a little too short for her. So I need to come back in and allow for Amber to sit straight up. And now I'm going to determine my length in the back. Now, what I'm looking at here is I'm choosing a center point that I'll work to this line to. If I want to continue to work square, I can. But to me, Amber having more of a square face shape, I don't want to go overly square on the entire shape. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to choose a point above her length on the side and work towards it so that we can lean out the back just a bit. Her head needs to be straight up for the first section. I'm coming in, I'm choosing my point, making sure that I'm not blocking the camera. Am I?
Nope, you're good with it.
I'm going to cut my length regardless of her hairline. I'm ignoring her hairline. If her hairline went much lower, doesn't matter. I'm just coming in and I'm cutting my shape to the length that I'd like. Same thing on the other side. Flipping my finger position. Some of you will notice that I am a lefty. Yes, I am. Like I say, we all cut hair with the same tools, right? And all the fundamental skills and foundational cutting techniques apply to right-handed people and left-handed people. We're no special or less special than righties. Here's what I will say. Proper hand and body position are of utmost importance to get the haircut and the end result that we're looking for if we want to do it proper and structurally. So what you'll see right now is I'm just slightly detailing this line and I'm chipping at it, making sure that it's nice and clean so that I can assess and check for balance. Now she has some Calyx back here, which are causing for the hair to bend in different directions. So I'm just trying to clean them up and make sure that my line is balanced. Notice when I check my balance, you'll see me move further away. And what that does is give me a better focal point of how this cut is falling and what that balance is looking like. Chin down for a sec. How are we doing on questions so far?
Tom would like to know the logo that's on your collar.
Ah,
I told you.
there you go. Thanks for the question, Tom.
And if you want, Ryan, you can even take a pause right now and just kind of look at the screen. Dude.
It's okay?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Like, you don't have to rush it. You can just pause and look and start just talking to people.
Okay, cool,
They
wonderful.
love that. Especially about your line, man.
Wonderful. So Tom asked about my logo on my shirt, and maybe might be on the hat too. That is the logo for my company. It's called Invincible NY. The NY in Invincible NY stands for New You, and essentially what we mean by New You is that we want to make sure that we're out to create and do things that make us happy. I think with the new millennial scene going on, I find that happiness is more important than anything, whether it be money or what else. And so for us, Invincible NY and New You, it's kind of a new energy and a new meaning behind what we do. I started Invincible 4 years ago. The reason why we named it Invincible is because if I'm doing something that makes me happy and I'm creating and I'm doing things that really get my juices going every morning, well, then I cannot or will not be destructive, right? Because at the end of the day, I will be happy. And to me, that's what's most important. So that's how we started Invincible. What I realized after cutting hair for a long time is that I love to cut hair, but there's other things that I love. I love to be creative. And so Invincible is a creative direction company, which financially is backed and started as a clothing line. But we do haircut videos and tutorials. We started recently to DJ and do events like that. Our page is invincible.ny, at invincible.ny on Instagram. And we do have a website too, which is invincibleny.com. Please, we're having actually a giveaway right now for one of our pullover hoodies. It's called the NASA hoodie. Joe's got one. Joe's in the house right now. What up, Joe? Thanks for coming, bro. And so the NASA hoodie, some of you guys will see it on the site. The NASA hoodie was inspired by the NASA spacesuit. It's got an oversized hood that allows you to block out all of the haters, not just some of them. And so that's one of our favorite pieces, our most popular pieces. It's priced at $225. And so what we're doing in the month of August and September is called Tag Us, Tell Us. And what we're asking you guys to do is tell us why you think that we're going to take off in the year 2018. So you can repost our work. You could post your own work. It could be a video. It could be in a story. Make sure that it's on Instagram. Make sure that you tag us. And make sure that you hashtag HRNASA takeoff to enter. We're going to give away one of those pullovers to one of our followers. So make sure that you follow us and keep posting. The more you post, the more opportunity you have to win that pullover. How's that sound?
After you're done with that section,
Yeah.
I literally want you to like stand right in front of the camera to show the detail of it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because the other one email says, I have thick hair. How can I make it soft and flexible?
Okay, who's this? Alpha 1 Emo. So there's a lot of options in changing our texture. Your first option would be product-based. And I always say go product-based first because that's going to give you an opportunity to do something temporarily, right? As soon as we get into chemicals and things like that, that's more of a permanent change. So my first advice would be to start looking for products that are going to have a lot of conditioning agents to them and a lot of moisture properties because that will keep your hair a little bit more bendable and flexible. You wanted me to talk about what, Steven?
Yeah,
Sorry.
like stand like literally right in front.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I want everyone to see. So talk about kind of the inspiration of why this, you know, because this is so cool.
Yeah, so I mean, our pieces, this is a Ponte de Roma material, so it's got a lot of weight to it. It's not quite a neoprene, it's a little bit more flexible and more wearable to it. But essentially, they keep shape and form. And to me, shape and form and lines are everything. So this shirt right here is a t-shirt. It's got an extended neck. And essentially, it's something that what I love most about my company, Invincible, is that it's unisex. So whether you're a boy or a girl, it doesn't really matter. If you just want to zoom in real quick on the belt, be kind of sick. So this belt right here, this is one of our newest pieces. And what I love about this belt is that it's got a magnetic pull tab on it. So that undoes or redoes. And so again, there's a lot of different wearability options. You could wear it as a classic belt, as I'm wearing it tonight. You could also double it up as a choker. We also have chokers with the magnetic clasp to it. So we're just taking, again, it's just very simple principles of fashion and taking basic wear and just adding our little twist on them. Our Fall 17 line, we're really, really excited about. The project that I'm most excited about for Fall 17 is our hooded sweatshirt project. Oh boy, talking and working, doesn't always work out seamlessly. Is our hooded project called Blank Canvas. And so what I notice most about millennials and about people in general, we like to have our own things, right? We like to personalize everything. What we're doing as a company is we're coming out with hooded sweatshirts that have snap-on, snap-off logos. So it's called Blank Canvas because we could change the artwork as it comes in. So the first one we're doing with Blank Canvas is a 3D logo. And from there, you're going to be able to change the color of those logos based on what you're wearing that day. After that first original launch, we're going to introduce different artwork projects. And what's cool is a lot of my artwork comes from some of the models and some of the things that I'm doing in hair that we put on the clothes. So a lot coming from us in 2017. Please keep an eye out and support that.
We got a shout out from Aaron T. Greg Brown. Says, get it, Ryan. Love you and your skills.
Thank you, Aaron. Much love for Massachusetts. Or is it New Hampshire? She's northern United States. Love you, Aaron. Thank you.
We also have a question from Tara Lentz. Why are your parties so thin? Would it make a difference if they are thick or thinner?
Tara Lentz, great question. So I love questions like these because as a young stylist, right, people will give you their opinions and then they will tell you that that's the way it should be. And what I love about what's going on in hair right now is people are really getting a lot of different opinions because when I first started doing hair 12 years ago, there was no internet, there was no Instagram, and there wasn't a lot of YouTube. YouTube wasn't what it is today. And so I had my mentors, one of them being Tom Harris, one of the best hair cutters in New Jersey by far, in my opinion. And, you know, whatever Tom said was the law. And again, Tom's a fantastic hair cutter, but what I see now is that kids are able to have millions of different mentors all over the internet. And so when I was raised to cut hair, I was raised to cut hair structurally and cut hair soundly and cut hair properly. And so using thin sections was of utmost importance because it's just going to give me a better opportunity to get as precise as possible, okay? Again, getting back to what Ben and James have taught recently and are really focusing on recently, which is that combing. If I take a really fat section and I comb it or I hold it out from the head and elevate it, I'm going to get unwanted over direction from the other sections. So my sections need to be fine. Now, how skinny do they need to be? Again, it depends on the texture of the hair. And so Amber's hair being a little bit skinnier, I could go a little bit thicker with my sectioning if I wanted to, but tonight I want to be very precise. And you'll see, because I'm not using elevation, because I'm not using tension or over direction on my line, I'm not going to have to do a ton of cleanup work at the end. And so that's something that I would love for you guys to continue to stay tuned in because you'll see that the finishing work will be a lot easier because of how I'm cutting her shape right now.
Anything else, Johnny? I think someone can answer the question. I kind of lost it.
Johnny on the questions here. Thank you so much, dude, for controlling that. Appreciate that.
So far, let's see. I was taught to have a client put their head down until you get to the, I might be saying this wrong.
Occipital. Occipital.
They would hold it straight forward. Is this not correct?
Again, I'm not a big guy for saying what's right and what's wrong, because if it works for you, it works. Here, let me tell you why I don't. As Amber sits right here with her head straight up, we can see that her hair is falling to natural fall. As she pushes it down and forward, watch her hair all move forward. So the length that I'm working and the line that I'm working is moving because my client is putting her head down. Now, why people will teach this is because this gives us a better vantage point when we're working inside of our fingers. And you'll see that when I work inside of my fingers and start to elevate the hair, I will have her move her head. When working a line, I always want natural fall. And what I mean by natural fall is I want a natural position for Amber. So if she's someone that slightly tilts her head to the right, I don't want to cut her hair perfectly straight with her head straight, because as soon as she tilts her head, her haircut will be off. So natural fall, literally what that means to me is having the client sit in the most natural position that they're constantly living in. And for Amber right now, this is what it is. Great question. You'll notice that I'm using the comb now as I continue on and finish the line. As the density in the hair builds up, I start to get too much fatness in there. It pushes the hair away from the head. And so I don't want to have unwanted elevation. So I'm coming in and using my comb just to make sure that the hair is nice and clean and closer to 0 degrees or natural fall. So I've cut my line. I have my outline. Now it's time for me to assess the weight distribution. My length is set. And so what I notice most about Amber's head is that her density from in front of the ear to the hairline is a lot skinnier than the density in the back. Okay, and this is typical for a lot of clients. What we're going to do tonight is we're now going to switch up and find a new guide. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove weight from the interior. We're going to work a round vertical shape for her, meaning we're going to cut the hair in a round shape, or what most would refer to as a convex layer. And what that's going to do for me is remove weight from the interior of her haircut. So I'm coming in now center back. To establish my guide, I'm going to work outside of my knuckles. And what that's going to do for me is allow me to see and watch her length fall out so that I don't cut into her length. So I'm combing the hair straight out from the head. I'm going to let her length fall out there. And just outside my knuckles now, I'm going to insert my new guide. Cutting this round vertically. Horizontally, we're going to work this shape triangular so that we get to a longer length in the front so that she doesn't have a mini layer hanging around the front hairline. Switching now to my smaller shear. Now, this is where the lefty-righty game gets a little tricky. And so we talk about cutting hair properly. And again, though I'm not a big stickler for rules, there is a way that we primarily cut hair and train to cut hair. When we work below the parietal ridge, we tend to cut hair inside of our palm. Reason being, because it's just a more natural feeling for our body. As we go outside the knuckles, if I try and cut outside the knuckles here, if my client is not high enough, my shoulder gets extended too far and it's not comfortable. So we're going to typically work palm to palm inside the parietal or below the parietal. Our non-cutting hand will always tell us in the direction in which we're traveling. And so we use a little trick. The thumb will always tell in the direction in which I'm traveling and or pushing weight. And so in this side, I want to push weight to the front. My thumb and my non-cutting hand is going to point to the front of her face, meaning my fingertips will be up, my cutting hand will be down. On the other side, I need to flip that and balance that out. And so for those of you that are professional hair cutters out there, who's ever met a hair cutter with a long side? We all have, right? It's like, oh, that's my long side. And so what I say is, you better have a good friend that's long side as the other side to come fix that for you. And so essentially, the long side is usually lazy hand position. And so if I cut the hair like this all the way around from the front hairline to the opposite hairline, I'm constantly shifting weight, shifting weight, shifting weight. And so this side will become slightly heavier, if not longer, okay? So by switching hand and body position, it gives me a much better opportunity to have that balance. Sorry, I wasn't showing that to the camera.
Okay. Just so you know, right, there's a good amount of students that are watching too.
Oh, perfect.
For stylists, a handful of stylists and a handful of
Let me, where are some of the students out there? I want some questions from students because I remember when I was a young hairdresser. And so, I mean, I might as well tell the story. First things first, I didn't want to be a hair cutter since I was a little girl. Right? I didn't wake up dreaming about cutting hair since I was a little girl. I always wanted to be a fashion designer, and hair was something that was presented to me. And to be honest, I didn't love it. I didn't love beauty school. What I did love was I loved working with the public. I loved working with people. I loved connecting with people. I loved working in the salon and having that energy. And so early on in my career, though it took me 3 years to graduate beauty school, which we all know is an 8-month program, because somebody didn't like to show up. That was me. And so I worked in a salon for a while, and I love that. And again, not to reference him too much, but Tom Harris, my first mentor, and probably most important, he saw something in me. I was terrible at cutting hair. Terrible. When I say terrible, I mean I could barely clip hair. And Tom saw something in me and pushed me and believed in me and made me a much better hair cutter. And so for those of you that are out there that are new and that are frustrating and want to be great tomorrow, I'm with you. I feel you. The struggle is real, but be patient. And I think with persistence comes excellence, right? People say practice, practice till it's perfect or whatever the saying is. To me, it's just be persistent. Be persistent. Do things over and over and over again and do them the right way. Learn the right way. It's easy to break rules. To be able to have the discipline to learn rules is most important. And so here, we're combing the hair straight out from the head. My combing is back slightly because I'm working triangularly. And what I love about this technique here is we're removing weight. But as we get to this area in here, in the mastoid process, it gets quite skinny. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our lower body position to help us control our technique and change it. So we're working a round vertical shape at the top of our section. But when I come in here and I bend my front knee, watch my elevation lower. So I'm coming from straight out from the head, working a round shape, to bending my knee, having low elevation, and working more of a triangular shape that's going to help me to build weight in an area that's the least dense in the head shape.
All right, we got a couple questions here.
Talk to me.
Next I asked, how to part or section the top hair for men? Any advice?
I don't like to give a generic answer, but typically somewhere along that parietal ridge. So sectioning for a men's haircut would look very similar to this. The question I ask you is, what shape would you want to work vertically, right? If you're trying to establish a square shape on a men's haircut, vertically, I would drop my sectioning just slightly below the parietal ridge. And why I would do that is because that's where the head rounds. So if I come up too high on the parietal and I work square, but I come in here and start to round it, I'll lose that shape. I don't know why I'm looking at you, dude. Sorry. And so I would keep my sectioning just below the parietal ridge. And I like to keep it just below the crown because this is an area in men's haircutting that I find is most misinterpreted. A lot of people go really short and really round here, and they'll tend to push the haircut forward, almost like it's a beret of hair sitting on the head. And so if we keep our sectioning low enough that we dip down just below the crown, it'll give us an opportunity, especially when working square vertically, to keep that weight in there and keep some length so that we get a better overall profile.
Rachel Cass says, ooh, go Ryan, always killing it with the wardrobe.
Who said that?
Rachel Cass.
What up? Thank you, Rach.
Jason T wants to know, what's your Instagram?
Instagram is?
You can write it down there.
Oh, he could write it?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Technology, man, it's great. I'll tell you anyway, though. It's at hashtag Runchi. At hashtag Runchi. You have to spell out hashtag, and it's RUNECHI. Again, working my section, working round at the top of the section, and then lowering my elevation as we get closer to the bottom of the section. As we get to the mastoid process and behind the ear, now I'm going to get stationary. Now everything's going to get over-directed back to this spot because I want to make sure that I'm building enough length and weight around the face. So the goal of this was really to remove weight from the interior of the hair in the back and push it towards the front. Right? And essentially, that's all we could really do. Besides removing length from a guest, we only have the opportunity to shift weight around in different places. So I'm using technique and I'm using over-direction to help control that. Over-direction is a tricky one for a newer hair cutter. And the best way it was ever taught to me is we should look at it like a slingshot. And what I mean by that is if I stand here with an imaginary slingshot and pull back on it and let go, that marble or that ball would fall forward. If I stand in the same place and pull back much, much, much further on it and let go, it'll still fall forward, but it'll probably break a window that's on the other side of my guest. That makes sense, everyone? So the more that we pull back, the more that we push. So the question is, and again, it's constantly asking yourselves questions as you work. What do I want to do with this section? Why do I want to do it? And if I could answer why I'm doing something, then it's right. And so I'm over-directing back a lot now because I want to push a good amount of weight forward to the front of her face because it's much leaner than the back of her haircut. Combing from that root, yeah? Questions? Good. Combing from the root. As we get down in here, we want to make sure that we tuck that hair from the front around her ear. Right? I don't want to cut over her ear because it's going to cause a bump and cause for inconsistencies in my cutting line. So as I turn here, Stephen, am I showing okay for everyone?
Yeah, you're good. I have a question.
Yeah.
Myself, but I know people run one. So explain like palm to palm, you know, the way you're holding your hands out compared to like body positioning, because I've noticed so many people myself, they throw that arm over and they're cutting over the top when it just, you're breaking your back. And I noticed your hand positioning is, you know, it's palm to palm, but you're really not hurting yourself while you're cutting, you know?
Yeah, so again, when we're below the parietal ridge, we want to make sure that we're cutting palm to palm. And again, because just naturally, it's what our body will tell us to do. And so if I'm outside my knuckles at this point, look how high my elbow has to get up. Look how extended my shoulder is. It literally is causing stress on my shoulder right now. As I work in here, it's much more comfortable, okay? So the first thing is making sure that our guest is at the right height, okay? And what I mean by that is our work should be chest high. Our work should be about chest high. When we're working a line, or sometimes in men's haircutting, I like to be at eye level, but most of the time, if I'm working in my fingers and I'm elevating and over-directing hair, I want to make sure that I'm chest high, okay? So by working inside my palms, it gives me an opportunity to work with proper body position and have better control over the hair. As I come to the back now, this is where I would like to typically, I would lower my guest. So on the first side, we're working fingertips up, palm to palm. On this side, we're going to work fingertips down because like we said before, when we work fingertips up, thumbs pointing to the right, pushing weight to the right. Now I need to balance that out. So when I do this, I would typically lower my guest. She's as low as she can go, so here's a little trick. No.
We have a viewer from Japan.
Hey. What's up? ¿Qué pasa? How do you say hello in Japanese? Konnichiwa.
There you go.
Yeah, konnichiwa. And so typically we push away. What pushing away does for me as a shorter hairstylist, it makes me shorter. And so as I pull the head back, if I pull her head all the way back, I'm Shaq, right? I could dunk on her, right? And so I'm just gonna pull her head back just a little bit. This now makes me super tall, like Guinness Book World Records tall. Changes the focal point, right? So we constantly have to outsmart to make sure that we're in the proper position. And so now I could easily work fingertips down.
Edgy-Man says, where can I find the real Ryan? Does he work at a salon?
The real Ryan. I work all over the place. So I'm in the salon a couple of days a month. I do a lot of freelance work. I do a lot of education. Also working on the fashion line and trying to become a much better DJ. And so with that, I literally am somewhat of a homeless worker. I do work at a salon a couple of days a month. What I would ask you to do is just slide up in my DMs. If anyone's looking for me or needs to contact me or wants to get in touch with me, I would say get up in the DMs, hit me up there. It's a good way to, I'm not like a big email guy. That just seems too super professional. So just slide up in there, dude. And on any day of the week, I'm in a different place. So that answer, there's really not one answer to that question. Again, I know that we're not going full body tonight. But one thing you'll notice as I switch to this side, on this side, my right foot was forward. As I switch to this side, my left foot will be forward. And again, what it's doing is just setting up my body position, making sure that I'm in the right place and making sure that I'm not working against my body, that I'm working with it. Once I cut my second section here, what I'm doing is I'm looking for balance. So I'm going to comb this hair down and I'm going to do this. Not this. I see a lot of people do this. It's not wrong, but it doesn't tell me anything. When I do this, I can manipulate the hair into thinking whatever I want to think, right? So if this shapes off a little and I just pull it over here, now it looks even. I don't know that the elevation is exactly the same. Last but not least, unfortunately, we're not doing hair in outer space, so we have gravity. So the most important view that I need to have is natural fall. So by coming in here, combing with the wide teeth, that's going to give me the best understanding of what the balance is from side to side. I check after my second section because if it's off, I need to fix that. I just want you guys to look at the profile real quick here. By creating this surface layer right in the occipital area, what it's doing for me is giving me such a beautiful profile in the back and really adding to Amber's head shape, okay? This is another thing that I love about this technique as we continue on and work our left side. Vietnam, welcome. Wow, that's cool. What time is it there? Not today. What year is it in Vietnam right now? We have any questions rolling in? Guys, I'd love for your questions. Whether you're new hairstylist, veteran hairstylist, whatever it is, any questions I would love. Give me a tilt back. Again, just moving her head just a little bit to make sure that I'm high enough with my elevation that I'm removing weight from her haircut right now. Creating that round vertical shape that I'm looking for. Combing straight out from the root, keeping good tension. You'll notice my off fingers of my non-cutting hand. You probably won't notice, but they're sitting against her head. And what that's doing for me is just giving me maximum control over my section, giving me great tension, and making sure that if I am in a salon setting or, you know, a lot of times at shows, we're doing hair backstage and we don't have mirrors and we can't really see where our model is looking. Same thing when you're on a stage. And so by having that vantage point, it just gives me an understanding of where my guest is. And if she moves, I know that I can reset, comb my section over and try again. My over direction is back, right? I want to keep a balance of over direction from the other side. So I'm just taking mental notes as I cut my first side, figuring out where I was. And now just, if you're in a salon, you could find little spots on the floor, right? If you're in a spot that you're always doing hair, you can find little spots at the floor to kind of help you to understand where you're over directing hair. I find that that's one of the more difficult things because it's so spatial, right? We don't have a lot of concrete physical evidence for over direction. So using spots on the floor as to where I'm standing can usually help me to understand what my over direction was like on the previous side.
We have a question from Sean. He's asking, based on his clothes, can he have like the hairstyle to go with it, like on certain styles? For example, he says he wears a sweater and jeans and Jordans.
Okay.
So like a hairstyle to match his style. And kind of like, so.
You want to take this one, Steven?
I mean,
I think we both can. Why don't you go first and then I'll take it.
here I am. Let me bring this.
The dude. Do you need a mic? Real quick, before we answer this question, we're back at that area in the mastoid process where I need to make sure that I'm saving some weight. So I'm layering or working with higher elevation in the top of my section. As I get to the bottom of my section, I'm bending my front leg and making sure that I'm building weight into this shape in the mastoid process, which is usually one of the skinnier areas of the head shape. Go ahead, Steven.
That's right. Hope you guys can hear me, but all the people that watch my YouTube channels, a lot of them are requesting specific types of haircuts based around a celebrity, based around a YouTuber, which they all have their own unique style. And everybody always wants to know what hairstyle best suits me. I have a face shape that's this, or I have, whatever it is. And they all want to know what suits me as a person. And I go, or they say, can I wear this hairstyle? I'll go, you can wear whatever you want. If you want to wear a white shirt today, wear it. If you want to wear a black shirt today, wear it. Like, be yourself. Whatever you feel comfortable in, look at pictures. And if you like that picture, go with what you think you're going to feel more comfortable in. Now, it's up to that stylist or that barber, whoever is doing your hair, for them to kind of come through and execute that haircut so that it does match your personality. Because you can want a certain haircut and get a horrible haircut. You know what I mean? Like, you can have a sick style and go to someone who's going to butcher you. So you got to make sure you're going to the right person for this. But I say do whatever you feel most comfortable in for yourself, whatever your style is in. Like Ryan, you have like teal hair, right? Like neon blue.
True story.
And I have no hair. You know what I mean? So like, well, unfortunately, if I had hair, it'd be probably like his. I'd do something with it. But
What do you mean? What do you mean? Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, if I had hair, I would do something like what I did at one point. But that's my take on, and being that he's a designer and it's all he does is dress himself in a specific way to match his style. Since I've known him, he's had a sick style. So
thank you.
Yeah, so that's my take on it. I'll let you answer that one too, man.
So I mean, listen, I'm right on target with what Steven has to say. A couple of things. I want to first answer this as a stylist, because we often get this in the salon. And what happens is we'll have a guest, she'll come in or he'll come in and they'll say, I want a vision, right? What's your vision for me? What haircut should I have? Oh my God, you're a hairstylist. What would you do to me, right? And essentially there's a lot of answers that we could give as to what we'd like to do with them. But to me, it's not always about what I think would look best on you. And like Steven said, it's suitability. What can you maintain? What does your lifestyle allow you to maintain? What does the style of your clothing and the way that you live your life, how does that reflect on your hairstyle? Well, for one thing, if you need to blow dry this hair into a certain shape and you have 4 kids, this, that, or the other, you're not going to have time to do that. The other thing is this, like often I used to give people like my opinion, oh, we should do this, this, and this. And then they'd say, yeah, well, everyone says I should do that, but I don't want to go shorter. Well, why did you waste my time? Right? So whenever anyone says, what should I do or what would look best? Here's my question back to them. What do you do for work? What do you do on the weekends? What kind of clothes do you wear? I need to gather educated information about my guests before I could just say, oh, this would look best on you. Because if hair cutting and this industry was only about what would look best on the client, we would never have to have a consultation. You would just sit in our chair and let us do whatever we want, like a doctor does, right? He comes out, he has his little version of the consultation, right? Where he gets that little cold thing, puts it on our chest for no reason, freezing cold, makes us breathe a little bit, and we think he's doing some great work. Our consultation happens in the chair, and it's all about gathering information. And the more information that I can have about a guest's lifestyle, the better I could assess what their haircut should look like. As for answering it to the individual who asked the question, the best hairstyle for you, again, it's one that suits your lifestyle and your style. So if you wear hoodies and Jordans, that's great. It doesn't mean you have to shave your head and look exactly like Michael Jordan, right? So it's like, who do you maybe like? I think one way a lot of people will come up with inspirations for their haircuts is find a celebrity or someone that's in the media that has a look that you aspire to look like, right? So if you want to look like Brad Pitt and you do look like Brad Pitt, God bless you, you're probably killing it with or without a good haircut. I would find maybe a haircut that looks great on Brad Pitt that you like. Does that make sense to everyone? So I'd say it's all relative to that, but also your fabric. Like, what can your fabric maintain? So if you have more of an extra curly texture and you want a really straight style, then you'll have to get into relaxer or something like that. As we move to the top, it's time for our final guide, okay? And so we're going to come in with a center parting. This parting right here, though it might look vertical, is actually horizontal. And how I know that is because this is a vertical parting, this is a vertical parting extended. This is a horizontal parting, this is a horizontal parting extended to the top of the head. So we're coming in horizontally. Parting this off. How are we doing on questions? Good?
Let's see.
Sorry, I'm not reading. I'm just not doing my job. I'm sorry.
You're doing a great job. Salon and Beauty. Where do you see hair trends going as a fashion designer? You said shade and ingenuity.
Yo, Tina, big words, dude, big words. I love that. I'm gonna Google ingenuity while we speak. And so essentially, where do I see hair going? That's another question, like we could take in 1,000 different directions. Do you mean runway hair? Do you mean salon reality hair? Do you mean mom hair? The one thing that I see in hair that I think everybody sees is individuality right now. And I think it's so cool that, you know, people call them fantasy colors. I don't like calling them fantasy colors. I don't like go home and fantasize about hair colors. But essentially the fantasy colors are what's really hot right now. And what's cool about hair color, once we get the guest to the proper level, right? Being a 9 or a 10, we have endless possibilities. And so to me, I see a lot of our guests forever changing their hair colors. The company I work for just recently launched a product, which is basically a direct dye that we could put right into the conditioner. So I would say that customizable color options and giving clients an opportunity to change their hair color as often as they change their mood is the future of at least in salon haircutting.
Somebody's asking who the model is.
It's my girl Amber K. Amber, where you work? Tell the people.
I work at the Gallery Salon in Wayne, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Everybody hear her? She works at the Gallery in Wayne. She's a brand new stylist on the floor. How long?
Just almost a year.
Almost a year. She's been doing hair for 4 years. She's obviously super cool. That's why I picked her to be my model. So no matter how bad the haircut is, it'll look wavy. And so real quick, as we get to the top here, notice I'm starting in the crown, okay? And I'm working straight off of the crown. I'm not working straight up, I'm working straight out. And now this guide right here, I'm going to choose in the air. This is about the length I think I want it, but I'm gonna check to make sure that it's long enough to cover some of that interior work, but not all of it. I want Amber to have a lot of texture to her bob, but often salon reality, I wanna hide some of that work that I did underneath. So I'm cutting this length to here on my original guide, and then I'll comb down and I'll check. It's perfect, okay? So from here, now I need to decide what length I wanna work on the top. And so I'm going to work a lot. It's going to be a pretty square layer. It's going to be a bit triangular in the front because I'm not going to round that off with the head shape, right? I'm just going to let that fall off, and we know that the head's gonna round down. So this line will essentially be somewhat triangular, just because each line is extended infinitely. And so I'm gonna work this now here. How do I decide what angle to hold my comb on? Again, I go back to proportion. And so a triangular proportion would be occipital to jawline. And so who remembers mirror selfies from back in the day? Like 3 years ago, right? You take like one pic and then you mirror it and you post it and everyone likes it. And so same thing here, we're gonna mirror our proportion. Okay, so from down here, we're just gonna pop it up here, and that's going to be the angle at which I'll cut this top layer.
Somebody said they use Fireman on their hair. You know what that is?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with it,
I don't
no.
know what that is.
No, go to the Google machine. Elevation, straight up, wait up, hold up, Mr. Lover. We're gonna cut this on that mirrored angle. Oh, we have friends. So real quick, while we have some new friends here in the building, I just want to give a special shout out to the Salon Guy, not only for having me, but having such a sick studio. I didn't have time before on my Instagram story, but I kind of wanted to give you guys a little tour because to me, the most important thing in any establishment is the bathroom, and his bathrooms are lit AF. So I'm going to take a picture later and post it on my gram. But Steven's always welcome to guests and allowing people to come in, check out his studio. It's such a beautiful place. If you guys are in town, we're in New Brunswick right here. Shoot him a DM, pop him a text, whatever it is, and come on through. So now, once I've established my length up top, my layer, I'm now just going to work off of that, and everything's going to get over directed to the center because Amber's haircut is symmetrical. If it were asymmetrical, everything would be over directed towards the parting, okay? And so I push on one side and pull on another.
Annabelle says that viral is a professional brand shampoo with dye.
Oh, okay.
David Troy says emojis, scissor heart. So I guess that means he loves a haircut.
Sick.
David is a hair, he's a salon owner. Let me jump in here real quick.
Sick. Come on in.
I have one more. Lulu.
David, what's up?
Huh? Lulu just tuned in. She wants to know what kind of haircut you're doing.
Oh, what up, Lulu?
Let me just, Lulu, hold on one second. David Troy is the man. He's an Aussie.
Sick.
He's an Aussie living in, I think, Texas, I believe. I don't know.
Okay.
And he complains that nobody understands what the hell he's saying. When he asks for
All
stuff,
right.
they're like, what the, you know?
All right.
But David, dude, thank you for being here, mate.
Thanks for tuning in, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right. So what haircut are you doing?
So Lulu, was it? What's up, girl? And so what we're working today is a bob, but we're working a textured bob. So we're going to have a lot of layers and movement throughout. What we did a little bit differently with our approach was we started this haircut in the front. And so we established a line against the chin first. We did that on both sides. Then we went to the back and connected that line with a new horizontal shape. And so we'll show that as we're finishing up here. But as I cut this top, now we're hanging some disconnected hair over the interior of the haircut. So essentially, we had one guide in the front. We had another guide in the back. We created a third guide on the interior, and this is our fourth guide that will sit on top of her haircut. And what's cool is because of the over direction that we're using, we're pushing everything to the center, this will fall just over the underneath. So that will hide some of that weight that we removed. And essentially, we just created some space underneath so that she has more movement and texture in her hair. It's also going to give her maximum styling options. One thing I want you guys to notice as I work through the center top, my upper body position is of utmost importance. I'm cutting hair like you would eat dinner rudely, right? With my elbows out. And so my elbows are always out. As soon as I drop a bow, right? I drop my elevation and I drop my line. So I want to keep my elbows out. Just like I have bad manners at the dinner table. More, yeah, go ahead. I'm looking for more questions. I want more questions from you guys. I mean, I cut hair all the time, so for me, this is nothing new, but I would love to know any questions that you guys have, any questions you guys are interested in us answering. Just leave a little, what is it, comment we call it? Leave it in the comments. All right, slide up in the comments.
Ryan, we got some babes in the house.
You guys we have friends. Hi, thanks for coming.
We follow each other on Instagram.
Sick. What up? What up? Oh, yeah. It's the Gram fam.
Yeah.
I love meeting people from Instagram in real life. It's trippy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like, I know you. I know what you ate for lunch yesterday, but we've never met. Sick.
Hi, Joe.
Joe Prophet in the house. All right, real quick. I just want to turn so that you guys can see. This length from the top is overhanging the underneath. Why? Because we never cut it. We never cut the length of the hair up top. It was clipped up while we cut our line in the beginning. So I'm going to show you as we dry this shape, how we could do a couple of different things and have some styling options and creative options for this at the end as a dry shape. Coming back.
David Troy says, weird question. Do you cut past the second knuckle and do you ever still cut yourself?
Yo, David Troy, sick question, bro. It's not weird. So I try not to. If you're asking me that question because you just saw me cutting past my second knuckle, it's probably because I'm paying more attention to YouTube and our new friends than the haircut. But essentially, I try not to cut past the second knuckle for one reason only. I'm going to lose my tension past the second knuckle, right? I don't have the proper tension when I start working past the second knuckle. So I'm going to try my best to not cut past the second knuckle. So the cutting question, do I cut myself often? I probably will end up cutting myself tonight now. I have not cut myself in a very long time cutting hair, and I'll tell you why. I have vowed to myself as a stylist that I will not rush anymore. And so if I'm running behind, and I'm not trying to be rude, but if I'm running behind Just checking the tilt of Amber's head. So I'm tilting Amber's head to make myself taller, but I have to compensate with that for over direction so that I'm cutting this all over the center parting. And so, not trying to be rude, but in a salon setting, if I'm running behind, I'm not rushing for my next guest, because what I'm doing in that situation, I'm devaluing the guest that's in my chair right now, number one. Number two, I'm giving myself an opportunity to cut myself. And I noticed that in the last 12 years, the only time that I do cut myself is when I'm rushing and not paying attention. So no, I haven't cut myself in a while, but it's possible. I did, however, cut myself today opening a package. And just a small little, it's probably gone already. It's just, you see it, Amber. Yeah, just a little paper cut right here. So yeah, I was rushing opening the package. But it was toggles for our fall winter hoodies, so I think it was worth it. More questions?
Let's see. They want to know what color your hair is.
Oh, my hair, it's weird. You get varying opinions. So real quick, I mean, you could see, yeah. Some people will call it violet. Some people will call it blue. It all depends on how often or recently I applied my hair color, how washed out it is. Essentially what it is, it's Palmitoyl Pop XG, which is their new pop color line. And essentially what that's going to do for you is I take the blue and the pink, I mix them equal parts, and I mix them with conditioners. So when it's super fresh, it looks a bit violety and almost silvery. And as it starts to fade out, it starts to look a little bit more blue. Some people sometimes will call it teal or green when it's super washed out, depending on what lighting you're in, right? Because when that yellow and that blue collide, we will get a hue of green. So that answers that, huh?
And Rachel wants to know if you're going to have time to show over your singing answers tonight.
Probably not. But I will be doing an Instagram live DJ session again soon, probably within the next couple of weeks. And so for sure, we'll be dancing on that. Rachel's probably referring to the DJ live session that I did on my Instagram a couple weeks ago. I recently, within the last 2 or 3 years, started DJing. And so one Saturday night, I was kind of bored, did a little session in the garage, and it was fun. I got into it, danced a little, probably too much. And so that's probably what she's referring to. But Rachel, follow me on the gram, and I'll probably be doing another one very soon.
I started doing that too.
What's this?
DJing.
Well, so it's funny. I noticed that same week you were doing the same thing, and just another way that we connect, right? I mean, Steven's been a DJ for way longer than me. You've been at it since back in the day, right? Where you actually had to bring the physical records with you, right? We were just talking about that in the car, me and Amber. Way back. Good old days, right? Good old club days.
You were raver babies.
Yeah, well, raving's cool again now, which is kind of funny, right? It's like the new thing again. Yeah. Do you even rave, bro?
Huh?
Do you even rave, bro?
Yeah, you were.
Rave on. So again, oh yeah.
And what's the most annoying question a client could ask you about hair?
So, I mean, listen, I love clients, don't get me wrong, but here's the deal with clients, right? Clients are uneducated. And so anytime that a client asks me a quote unquote annoying question would probably be when someone makes an uneducated assessment or an uneducated question based on what we do or why we do it or whatever. I wouldn't say that a client's question is annoying. What I would say is this: it's our job to educate clients. And so I have an issue with the fact that I don't think that our clients respect us enough, and I don't think they do it on purpose, right? But again, we go back to the doctor situation. And so when we work in a hair salon, clients like to come in and tell us how to do our job. Do you ever notice this? They come and they say, I want this, this, and this, and this is how you're gonna do it. And so I always think back to like a doctor's office, right? And so I would have to say like the most annoying thing that a client could say is to tell me that their hair color lifts warm. It's the one that kind of just drives me nuts because no shit. Everybody's hair color lifts warm, right? And if you do color, it's very simple. You understand that with each level of lift, we're adding more and more warmth, right? So as we get to 5, we're at red. As we move up in level, we're adding more and more warmth. So essentially, to me, it's the same exact thing as us going into a doctor's office and telling him that our heart is beating and that we are breathing. So before you do your job, doctor, I just want you to know that. That's kind of the equivalent for me in the salon. But again, it's all about education. And so if someone does present that question in a consultation, I'll sit them down and show them the color wheel and explain to them exactly how hair color works and why maybe they feel like their hair is pulling warmer or in a direction in which they don't really want it. Real quick, our shape is finished, right? Our wet shape is finished. What you could see is that our shape is moving nice and loose and free over the underneath. It also has a lot of added texture because the length up top is slightly longer than the underneath because we never cut that length. What we're going to do now is we're going to blow dry. Before I blow dry, I'm going to actually wet the hair down again, believe it or not. And I don't want to soak the hair down, but I want to make sure that there's even moisture throughout because it's going to give me an opportunity to dry this hair properly. I want to make sure that I wet the front down very, very good because if she has any cowlicks or any unwanted whorls in the front, I need to make sure that I smooth them down because we're going to come in now. Once we blow dry the shape, we're going to smooth it, and then we're going to stamp in a really strong fringe and clean up her lines for her and do some detailing work. Amber, you psyched about that, huh? All right. A couple things about blow drying. Blow drying, super important, right? And so, again, back to fashion. It's like if I'm going to sew a shirt, I'm not going to take fabric that's wrinkled, sew it, and then expect for the shirt to fit properly or to wear properly. And so same thing with the hair fabric. I can't take wrinkled hair or unsmoothed hair, right, and put in my line or my shape properly. So right now, my goal is to get this hair as smooth as possible so that I have an opportunity to cut it exactly how I need to cut it. I'm going to start drying with a comb. We're good? Tilt your head down. I'm going to start drying with a comb, and I'm going to start that underneath because it's shorter and because I know that she has some calyx in there. What the comb is going to do is give me control of the shorter hairs that I may not be able to smooth and iron at the end. I want to make sure that I attack them from a very wet state to properly ensure that I can control them. With the comb, I will tend to get a little bit more of a flatter or straighter dry to the hair. So notice I'm slightly bending and working that with the round of the head to make sure that those ends finish nice and smooth rather than poker straight. And as I blow dry, I'm focusing on one thing, the root. I'm not as worried about the end so much. I'm worried about the root. If I can get that root nice and smooth and into natural fall, I can go ahead and iron those ends and smooth them down and get them to where I need them to be. Steven, as I blow dry, is there anything you want to talk to the audience about? And if not, that's cool too. Now's a great time for questions, guys, because we're just blow drying. We could also go over the cut again if you think that's a good idea.
People say like it doesn't take a rocket science to cut hair. Like sometimes people find it easy or people just like, oh, you're just cutting here. But then like everyone's saying like people are idiots, of course, different angles and body hand positioning. There's so many things to understand when it comes to cutting hair. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Let's put it like this. I always bring it. I like analogies because they make sense to me and they make sense to people. First thing I want to say is this. What we're doing right now is we're setting up the most important part of this haircut. So I know that the blow dry is not always the most exciting thing to watch, but what we're about to do next will be, I promise you. So you're going to want to stay tuned because to me, a wet cut is something that is quite simple. The dry cut is really where we are able to take our creative eye and really start to control this shape. So just like when building a house, right? You have your foundation and you put that in. We've done that wet. Now it's time to prep for all the interior design that we're going to do. Back to that question. People saying that, you know, it doesn't take rocket science to cut hair, blah, blah, blah. I agree, it doesn't. And I think that you could teach a 5-year-old how to cut hair. As long as you can hold a scissor, you could cut hair. Here's the issue. Just because you cut hair doesn't mean you know how to cut hair. And so again, it comes back to being professional. One of my biggest mentors in this industry, Colin Caruso, he used to say this from stage all the time. He'd have everybody raise their hand and say, who could throw a baseball? You could throw a baseball, raise your hand. And everybody in the stands would raise their hand because everybody could throw a baseball. he'd say then, keep your hand up if you could pitch for the Yankees. And there's always like one wise guy or one wise girl that would keep their hand up, right? But essentially, there's a huge difference in throwing a baseball and pitching from the Yankees. Same thing with cutting hair. No, it's not rocket science. Hair cutting is very simple, but it's not easy. And until you know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you're controlling hair and you're working with different fabrics, I think that the hardest part of hair cutting at that point is just dealing with the public, right? And dealing with the person that's in your chair. A lot of what we do on a daily basis is just modern day low-key psychiatry, right? It's like we don't have maybe a doctorate for it, but our job is really to listen to people, right? Talk about things that our guests want to talk about, entertain them in a way. And so no, it's not rocket science, and it is very simple. But again, just because it's simple does not mean that it's easy. And so we have different levels of hair cutting, just like we have different levels of fashion. And so a t-shirt from Gucci, right, might run you anywhere from $750 to $1,000 for a t-shirt. Yeah. And so some people don't see value in that. So they look for a less expensive t-shirt. Maybe they'll go down to, you know, a streetwear brand or something like that and pay $250 for a t-shirt, $150 for a t-shirt. H&M will give you a t-shirt for $5. And so just like fashion, hair has different levels of professionalism. The fabrics are more expensive, so the Gucci t-shirts a little bit pricier. The factories in which they're made are a little bit better, and the seamstress, and there's so many different details to that Gucci t-shirt that's not in that H&M t-shirt. Do they look the same? They might. Will they wear the same? They won't. And so to me, there's different levels of hair cutting, and just because you can cut hair doesn't mean that you could give me a Gucci haircut. And if you can give a Gucci haircut, have an H&M haircut in your back pocket. And what I find most with the hair industry right now is that people want a lot of different things, right? I'd say the last 5 years, barbers got super popular. And the reason for that is not only because they do brilliant work, they do it quick. They do it quick. This generation that we're in right now, we want things immediately, right? We don't want to wait for anything. And so a barber has really benefited from that and has taken their business to new heights and new levels. So my thing is this: be able to give that Gucci service, but also be able to offer someone an H&M haircut. If they're looking for more of an express service, be able to offer that. The more that you can do, the more valuable and the more dangerous you'll be as a hairstylist. Wait, I can't hear the last part, sorry. Okay, cool. Wait, which one do they want me to say? They like fringe? Yeah, you know what bangs are, you know, it's whatever. Especially on his days off, girls. Holler at your boy. And so as this root becomes dry, now I'm going to start to bevel those edges and those ends and just start to smooth the hair. I'm not using any clips in my blow dry. I'm just going to turn her head and just allow for the airflow to control that. Huh? Oh, it's a Paul Mitchell 413 sculpting brush. One of my favorites, actually. It's great for detangling. It gives me enough control, but as a man, it's soft enough for me to use on a female. I find with some harder brushes, I'm giving some of my guests concussions. And so this is a good balance between having a firm enough control over the hair without concussing my clients. Yeah. I don't want any of my clients with CTE in 25 years because they're getting haircuts from me. Notice in the front here, I'm blow drying everything forward. And so I want to blow dry that forward because that's where that hair is going to live. We're also going to stamp in that fringe. So I'm blow drying that front hairline forward, and then right here back to natural fall. Same thing on the other side. How we living, Amber? You good? All right. Yeah. You want me to talk about that? Yeah, so again, the blow dry is going to set up my dry work. And to me, the dry work's the most important. You know, foundationally, we put in our shape now. We know that it's structurally sound. The guides match up and there's balance in the structure of the shape. Now it's time to use our eye to decide what needs to stay and what needs to go. To me, this is the most fun part of a haircut. But before I do it, I need to ensure that the hair is dried properly. Because if it's not, I'm not going to get a true read on how this hair is going to live. So again, natural fall, I'm working this hair forward and back using the round of the head. And now I'm just coming in and I'm beveling these ends just a bit, just to add some polish to them. And I'm going to come in with my iron just after and smooth those ends just a little bit. One final go through just to smooth everything out, blow dry it in place. I'm not a big cross checker when I cut hair. If you notice, I'm not cross checking every 5 seconds. What I like to do is use my blow dry as a cross check. And what I'm doing as I blow dry is I'm making sure that this hair is going to live and look great no matter where she styles it or where the wind blows. Often we do a haircut, we style it into place, we cut it perfectly, and then we send our client out in the parking lot. And as soon as that client moves, even just an inch, I got to plug these both in.
That's right.
Let's try this one first. Yeah, just do this one first, please. And so it's great to be able to cut hair perfect for a picture, but I want this hair to be cut perfect for life. And so as I go through with my blow dry and I see if the wind blows here, what's that going to look like? If the wind blows there. So that's essentially what I'm doing and what I'm looking at as I'm blow drying hair.
It's not gonna burn a towel, is it?
No. Damn. You got insurance on this place or what, dude? What about them towels? I'll buy you new towels, bro. Who said hi?
Lorenzo says hi.
What up? What up? Oh, you got all the comments there. I was supposed to be looking the whole time.
I got you.
Yeah, I appreciate you narrating that too. All right. So let's come to the side. So now, we were talking about clips earlier. This is where these clips come in handy. They have a little less tension than those heavier YS Park clips that I was using. So I'm just coming in here now. Just combing the hair out of place.
Let's see. As a cosmetologist, is it worth it to be dual licensed as a barber?
I don't like those questions, man. Well, so no. It's cool though, because here's the thing. Like, I can't tell you what's valuable to your life. Like, only you can. And so for me, it wasn't so valuable, right? Because with cosmetology, I learned barbering. And so I cut hair much more as a traditional hair cutter than a barber, okay? But if barbering is something that you want to get into, then yeah, take the barbering course. Cool?
Because cosmetology covers both, for both parts.
That's what I thought, but that's why I don't love those questions, because I don't really know. Here's the thing. All the laws and the rules are different for each area, right? So in Jersey, Stephen, they're both. I think other areas, that might be different. Yeah, each state's different. So I'm just coming in now and smoothing her ends. As I work this iron, I'm just beveling just a little bit as I work through. On these shorter On these shorter hairs here that I can't get in on too tight, I'm just using the outside of this iron that's a little toasty to just kind of smooth that and get some shine out of it. You gotta hook your color up, girl.
Oh yeah, that's next.
That's next for sure.
So I know I always get a lot of comments on like heat protection, is it safe to use irons, all that, what's the steam, I like even in my own stuff, but maybe, you know, you want to talk about some of that a little bit.
Yeah, so I always tell my clients this. The recommended for like home on most guests is gonna be like 370, right? If you have a really coarse hair or really wire hair, you need to go hotter, go hotter. I look at it like this. Would we go out in the sun without suntan lotion in the middle of the summer? This particular iron is gonna heat up into 450 degrees. That's super hot. If you were outside in the day that was 450 degrees, would you wear suntan lotion? You'd wear a lot more than suntan lotion. So I think that heat protection is important, but it all depends on the guest and how often they're ironing their hair and working with hot tools. Heat protection is one of those things that I think that we downplay a bit and we don't pay enough attention to. So I think it's super important, Stephen, to answer their question.
Cool. I'm trying to get some girls local here.
Of course.
You definitely are.
The one thing finally, that is required for that doesn't really, well, it's here on myself.
So as you could hear, we had some people show up to the studio today, which is awesome. Always makes for a better experience. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Sophia's extremely, I'm bringing her onto my channel now.
Oh, sick.
She's
I see she does the makeups.
Yeah, she did her first.
Yeah, you do good ones. Yo, so here's a funny story about makeups. So basically, like, I was always seeing this hashtag MUA, right? Right. So I always thought girls were just doing like hashtag, right? Like kiss, yeah, like kiss me is like mwah. And I was like, oh, that's cute. She likes kissing everybody. And then I realized it's MUA for makeup artist.
That's funny.
Sick.
It makes more sense. Mua. I was thinking mua. And I'm like,
Oh, mua, like yeah. That's you're way off. You're way off with that.
Because everyone else.
Makeup artist, love it. Speaking, yeah, you come out, say what up. Speaking of hashtags,
Let me sweep over there.
speaking
Sweep, and I'll do makeup artistry Sophia.
speaking of hashtags, real quick, I just want to say once more, my clothing company, Invincible.ny, at Invincible.ny. We're doing a giveaway this month. Tag us, tell us. We want you guys to tag us with HR NASA Takeoff. Hashtag HR NASA, like the space company, takeoff. Tell us why you think we're going to take off in the year 2018, and you'll enter to win one of our NASA pullover hoodies.
So somebody's cutting in front of you, man. Who is this?
Who's this?
Sophia.
This is the MUA.
Go check out Tina's last video.
Yes, it's Sophia.
Ryan featured in it.
Yes, she's a makeup artist. She did a great job.
Back to you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for sweeping.
You're welcome.
Or are you like the clown at the Apollo? You want me sweeping me off the stage? No, do you know the Apollo? The little clown dude would come out and sweep all the people that sucked off the stage.
I'm the little clown dude.
As long, no, I'm saying. Coming in here, I'm using a 1-inch iron, and what that's doing is giving me an opportunity to really control this hair, especially the short hair right here.
Right, you see how beautiful these girls
I do, yeah. I looked before. That sounded really phony. Yes, they are beautiful. Absolutely.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Where'd you get your socks?
Oh, good question. Do you want to show my socks, Steven?
Yeah, we need to get a close up on those socks.
Look at those 6
I
socks
have
right
shoes,
there.
honestly.
Get the socks.
Look at that, he's styling.
Sock game. So sock game super important nowadays, apparently.
It is.
Yeah, sock game's lit. And so these socks are from Uniqlo.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, Uniqlo is one of my favorite stores, actually.
They have one in Bridgewater Mall now.
They sure do. That was the first one ever.
Really?
And then and then they closed it, and they had one in the city, and now they're all over the place. Uniqlo, they want to be the biggest retailer worldwide. Uniqlo is one of my favorite brands. Essentially, if you guys don't know what it is, UNIQLO, think of a Japanese Gap. Think of a Japanese Gap.
No, it's not
Yeah.
the Gap though.
But I just mean that in a sense of basics.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sell mostly basics. Yeah. Yeah, they got great tees, great prints. They do a lot of awesome artist collaborations. Six Socks too, Avi.
Do you have any tips on keeping long hair sleek, straight?
Take your time. So the question was, how do you keep long hair straight and smooth? Just patience, right? Patience with everything. And so if you have a long head of hair, just really taking your time. Usually with a longer head of hair, I'm going to turn up my iron a little bit hotter because I need a little bit more muscle out of it. But just taking your time, working section by section by section. Notice I'm not rushing my smooth. I'm not rushing my blow dry. I'm just taking my time and working at a good pace here.
So what is this cut called? Do you have a name for it?
I mean, to give it a 21 Savage name, it's a bob. But essentially, yeah, it's a haircut. Yeah.
It's a very beautiful name.
Amber.
It's the Amber.
It's the Amber. It's the Amber
We're
K.
gonna call it the Amber.
That's cool.
It's like the 311 Amber cut.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Wait, what's the 311? Did I?
311 was song called Amber.
Oh, my bad. I only know that. Dun, 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 dun. I only know that one. Sorry, dude.
It's cool. I
You
know
ever get
that
that?
song.
I think somebody said before that you resemble a guy from Coldplay. Did you ever get that?
Yeah, Chris Martin or whatever. You should see me dance just like him too.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Who said that? 'Cause I was thinking that.
Chris Martin, yeah. That's a new one for me. Sick. Yeah, people, you know who I get? All right, so I'll tell you guys a funny story because it's like resurfacing because fashion is recycling. And so when I was in high school, everybody used to call me Belmo because my last name was Belmonte. And then, listen, I always kind of dressed like this, a little different than everybody. And so on the basketball team, it was right around the movie Can't Hardly Wait came out. And I know probably a lot of people in the audience too young to even know that movie. It's a pretty sick movie. You should check it out. And essentially, so the one character in there, Seth Green, people used to always say that I look like him. And then in that movie, he kind of dressed like a clown show. And so everybody started calling me Special K in high school. Yeah, so I feel like it's kind of coming back a little bit because I was wearing a visor the other day. And then my friend Aaron, you guys know the Aaron Johnson? He kind of called me out on that at IBS in Vegas. So might be coming back soon. That's usually the only celebrity, I guess. I'll take Chris Martin any day of the week.
Username Books Rock wants to know if it's bad to wash your hair every day.
Oh, yeah, I love this one. It's bad to smell. Yeah. So essentially, whether or not it's good for your hair to wash it every day or not, again, like my questions always go back to comfort level. Like what's more important to you, the health of your hair or smelling pretty, you know, or being clean? And so you'll know better than anybody. If your hair is greasy enough that you need to wash it every day, then it's not unhealthy for you to wash your hair. I think we really sign up to like all these old wives' tales as to what's good and what's not good and what's right and what's not right. Shampoo has come a long way, right? And so just tonight, I was able to use SalonGuy's line, which is fantastic. And I believe one of the products used was vegan free, correct?
It was vegan clean.
Yeah. So if you're vegan, use it. And no sulfates is like the most popular thing ever. So I'm going to say that it's whether it's healthy or not healthy to wash your hair every day. If you want to wash it and you need to wash it and you know who you are, wash it.
Sorry,
Yeah. Yeah, wash it.
Great talking to me.
Wash it.
Instead of saying like, yo, watch it. Like,
Wash it.
Watch it.
Wash it.
Watch it.
More questions. We're almost done smoothing here. Going to get into our refining segment.
Lily Lou wants to know what type of bangs go with what type of hair.
What type of bangs go? So I'll answer this question like this. The face should tell you the proper fringe, right? And so, yes, certain hair textures probably should never be cut a fringe, right? So somebody with really, really, really curly hair is very dangerous to do because obviously they're going to jump up on you and they're not going to live really well. Okay. Am I pulling? So I'm always going to go by the face, letting the face tell me exactly what that should do. So with Amber's here, we really want to frame. She's got a pretty face, not to embarrass you, but we really want to frame her face with that fringe. So we're going to go quite short with it. So again, even in smoothing, right? Making sure that I go back to my original sectioning and work that hair. I'm only working from mid shaft to ends at this point. I'm not going all the way down to the root. The root's already smooth, right? The root's already living at natural fall. So now I'm just smoothing those ends. Last few sections here.
Hey, Ryan, where are you from again? Like,
I'm from New Jersey. Yeah.
Jersey, right?
So I grew up in Nutley. Yeah, New Jersey. Yeah.
Jersey now.
Yeah. And I live in Fort Lee now. Yeah. Where are you guys from? Oh, same. All right, cool. Yeah, West New York's what's up. What's that restaurant I like there? La Sorrentina. Spot. Right, so you can see now as we smooth, we have some texture to the end. And so if you have a client that's looking for like a lob or like a razored cut or something textured, you feel free to not cut that length and now come in and notch that in with some control and allow for it to hang over the underneath. And I think that this is a really great way to structurally create a haircut like that without having to use a tool or something like that. And again, it's nothing against razors. I think razors are great. But what I will say is some clients are scared of razors. And so in that situation, we need to make sure that we're able to do things other than just by razor.
Lily wants to know what you plan doing next after smoothing.
Cutting more. Yeah, good question. So we smooth the hair just to set up our refinement and our finish. So we're going to come in now. And we're going to start to refine our line and our shape. So just to give you an example, if she wanted this to be a little bit more textured and razored, I could easily come in here, raise my elevation a little bit, and just start to point cut that in. And allow for that to sit naturally over that stronger line and allow for her to style it like that with texture and such. But today we want to create something a little bit more strong. And so first we comb into place. Next, what do we need to do? We need to go back to natural fall. We need her head straight up. And so we put her straight back. And now we're going to come in and we're going to start to control our line. Again, in the salon, I would probably pump that chair up a little bit more, but I'm just going to come in here. I like to use my offhand just to kind of steady my cutting hand.
We can raise this if you want.
Now we good, man. I need the leg workout, bro.
Your squat game is sick.
Do you even squat, bro?
Let's see that squat. Lower. Lower. Okay.
It's good, right?
Hashtag squat game.
Squat game. Squat game. Yeah, so my friends make fun of me a lot for working like that, but I always let my lower body control my up and down, right? And again, it's just because if I start to let my hands do it, I'm going to lean in or lean out so it could change my elevation or my over direction. If I hold a comb like this and I just bend my knees, I'm just going straight up and down. Yeah. So it just gives me much better control. Just coming in and refining my line. And as I refine my line, I'm combing a lot. I'm making sure that there's no hair stuck in any place. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to cut my line, and then later I'm going to come in and refine it even further and start to chip away at it. Another reason why I don't like to do too much wet is because now we get little fun things like this that I might want to leave at some point for a disconnection, or at least have an opportunity to. So when I approach a cut, I like to have a shape in mind. And then as I work, I like to let it come to life. Am I blocking?
No, you're good.
I'm good? You got cameras everywhere. Watch out. Don't do anything wrong.
Any questions or anything, John?
Let's see. David wants to know what you think of cutting stools.
Cutting stools? Yeah, they're cool. I choose not to use a cutting stool primarily because I don't like to have all the hairs on my legs. And so when you use a cutting stool, you usually get like a lot of hair on your legs. I'd rather get a leg workout. Straight up. Cute.
Anything else?
Yeah, let us know when we get those questions. So next thing I'm doing here, I'm assessing. I'm seeing what works and what doesn't work. And so at this point, again, because my shape is in, now I could easily say to myself, is this working for her or do I need to remove it? As I come to the back, I'm going to assess. I'm going to have her put her head down just a little bit. Tilt your head forward just a little bit. And now I'm just taking a step back and seeing where I want this line to go, right? And so I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to work that original line. Remember, this is the length from up top. We hadn't cut that length yet. Yeah, where's my broom girl at? I just almost, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. But I almost just broke my neck. I'm sorry. Thank you. Well, no, I want to give you a shout out. Where's the moi at?
Do you want like a beverage drink?
Me?
You want like a mic drink?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, sir. And so just positioning my guest now, trying to keep her as straight up as possible, because again, when we move the client, we start to move the focal point of the line. So I just want to be careful of that. But I do need to get in here now so that I could really see. As I start to chip away at the line, I'll start to have to smooth a little bit more, right? So this piece just needs to be beveled under so that sits nice.
We got some good question over here.
Yeah, hit me up.
What do you prefer to thin out hair? Thinning scissors or regular shears?
Okay, regular shears. What?
Or other?
Regular shears, 100%. I use one pair of scissors for pretty much everything. And so why I choose not to use a thinning shear is two reasons. One, because I've learned to be patient enough to not need one. Two, because certain clients will literally lose their shit, when you bring one out. And so I don't ever want to pull a weapon out during an appointment with a guest. I don't ever want to pull something out of my pocket that's going to make them freak out or lose their mind or tell me that somebody cut their hair 17 years ago with a razor and their life's never been the same. They lost their husband, blah, blah, blah. And so with that, I like to be able to just use my scissor to create everything. I'm going to go back in and refine this haircut, just using point cutting technique with my original sectioning. And the reason why we need to point cut or maybe to kind of smooth out those ends or I should say refine the density of them is because when we cut wet hair and we cut it blunt, the ends expand as it dries and we start to get weight on the ends. And so with that, sometimes we need to go in and just kind of dissipate that just a little bit. Yo, can you pass me my Red Bull?
Yeah. Well,
No, hide the label though.
Unless,
Unless Red Bull wants to give me an endorsement.
ask a question.
Oh, yeah. Zach wants to know, how would you go about cutting very curly hair to give it shape and body?
Good question. Curly hair, I would use very little tension on my exterior shape and very strong tension on my interior shape. And what that'll do is give me an opportunity dry to be able to refine it properly. Yeah, a lot of people are scared of curly hair. And so what I always say to them is, under a microscope, hair is hair, right? Same thing, like people are like, oh, I cut women's hair, but I'm scared of men's hair. Under a microscope, it's the same hair. Think before you cut. Always think before you cut. and ask yourself, what is going to happen and why? And if you could answer that based upon the guest that's in your chair, well, then you could cut anyone's hair, whether they're man, woman, you know, equal gender, whatever it is. Like, I don't care what gender, what texture. I'm an equal opportunist when it comes to cutting hair. So again, just coming in here. And I don't think that it's live, but I was gonna maybe, oh, am I blocking? Yeah.
That's right.
I was gonna use the screen to help me cut this line.
You can look at it.
I don't know if it's live though.
Everything, yeah.
There's a little drag, yeah.
A little delay, but not much.
It's a little drag.
Right one is real time. Yep.
Oh, bottom
The
right.
YouTube one, where you're seeing all the comments, that's a little delay, but the one, the little box is more real time.
All right.
Steven, I'm resigning from my video because I look kind of I look like I keep looking inside.
It's your first time. You did a great job. I'm so happy.
So this is a situation where I'll sometimes use this little chipping technique right here. This is not point cutting, this is chipping. And what this is doing is, it's allowing for me to refine a line. Often our scissors aren't sharp enough to cut the line exactly where we want it to live, and it'll start to push and pull. And so I'm just gonna go in there and chip. Even, am I showing this? Or getting in the way?
Sorry, people. You're good with her. That's good, yeah.
Are you sure or no?
You're.
Be sure, dude.
That's good.
It's good?
It's actually good over the shoulder. There you go. Now, quick question. Is it better to get a solid straight line dry like that, or you can't get that wet, could you?
You could start it wet,
Yeah.
but you need to refine it dry. And really section by section is gonna help you do it the best.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. I can watch myself cut it after I cut it. It's like I'm watching and playing at the same time. Yeah, so I would probably redo the color. Yeah, we'll see what's up.
You didn't do it, did you do it or not?
No, this is previous colors. So that was the challenge of finding a model last minute, not being able to pre-color. Normally I would like to do that and pre-color my model, but we didn't have time. It's all good. It's not that the color was bad. The previous color was great. It just doesn't always go with the new haircut. And so I'm blocking or no?
You're good, you're good.
So I'm just coming in chipping this line, and that chipping is just going to give me an opportunity to really, really get this nice and clean.
Everyone's saying it looks great.
Thank you. Steven, what time we at? We good?
Yeah, it's like 9:50.
For real or no?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're an hour and 50 minutes in.
Damn, son.
That's cool, man.
All right, as long as you
People
guys,
are locked in, dude. People are being
As long
glued
as-
in.
as long as you guys are good.
People have been glued in.
And you're doing all kinds of squats and lunges.
I know, we're working out over here.
Workout video too.
No
You
wonder-
had those socks on, you couldn't use squats.
No wonder why I wanted that Red Bull. Jeez. Jeez. So let's do the other side next. Oh, you like that idea? Thank God for the peanut gallery.
Everyone's saying they want to see the girls in the video that we're talking to.
Oh, they're the mysterious girls
I don't know.
from behind the curtain.
Do you have like comments coming to your brain? Because
It's my
there's-
channel.
Okay, Zach wants to know what hair type you say is not going to cut while it's wet.
Huh? Say that again?
What hair type would you say is not good to cut and style while it's wet?
So I guess if he needs one, I'd say men's. Men's hair should be cut dry, like scissor over comb. Scissor over comb is a refining technique to be done on dry hair. So I see a lot of stylists go and attack scissor over comb in a wet state. It's not wrong, but that's not how the hair is going to live. So I would say that men's hair is the one hair type that I always will cut dry. That being said, as I move to the top and start to work inside my fingers, often I will wet that hair down just so that I could have better control over it.
for this cut, what color would you prefer on the hair?
So it's not the color that's bothering me so much as the placement. The color is beautiful, and the previous color was beautiful. But now that we have a new cut, and new lengths, and new layering, it's starting to expose some things that maybe we just didn't want to expose, that obviously the person that did the color originally wouldn't have done. So just by switching the haircut, it often changes the color a lot. What actually would probably look really cool is if we left it the color textured like this, but just made made the blonde much more deep and added some depth to it. So I could even see like a deep amber, not to be super literal for our girl Amber here, over top of this, just to kind of soften all of the sins maybe that we've left by cutting this hair a little bit differently than it was colored. Again, balance, super important. So I'm always stepping out. You see me stepping out, but when I step out, I'm doing this. So I'm creating space. Oh, they still can't see. I'm never going to get this thing. It's all good. It's all good. So now I'm going to go chin down. Chin down. Yeah.
Dude, look how wide, I'm pretty wide in the camera shot. So.
Is it good? I'm good?
Look.
Oh, hi. Do you want to be more specific? I'd love to answer your question.
Oh, I didn't know if everyone heard me. I thought that was nice.
Oh, I didn't know.
Just like,
Straight up.
Like when I cut, I need to like.
So a couple things. I'm having her put her head down so I get a better vantage point and get my scissors in. But then I'm having her come up to check. Because again, the balance isn't going to live right down here like this. I'm getting rid of any hair underneath that I don't need. So I'm just going to come in right here. Sorry.
Yeah, I just feel like when I cut.
And just work this off with my shear. And this is just a scissor right on the skin. And so like in the salon, my favorite thing to do is just to tell my guest, you're going to have a blade on your skin. That's going to be my still blade. If you don't move, I can't cut you. Watch how quickly they don't move.
Hey, Bryce, your hair type thin, it's like medium?
Amber's?
Yes.
I will call it fine texture with medium density.
Someone's asking if you have any tips on broken hair, such as from bobby pins, ponytails.
What do you mean? Broken hair, like damaged?
Yeah, from like using accessories such as ponytails and bobby pins.
So here's how I'm going to answer that. I don't use the ponytails or the bobby pins. I don't really do like upstyling and stuff like that. I have a really good friend though, Miss Summer O'Neill, Society Life Hair on Instagram, at Society Life Hair. Yo, she's cool, dude. She does all these tutorials and she's always posting little tips and tricks. What I would do is comment on her videos and ask that question. I'll bet you she has some fantastic answers for you.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
Just take a quick glance over here, man.
What?
They're like, they're
He's like,
glued
I'm
in,
trying-
bro. They're glued in.
Oh, I thought maybe you said they had an answer
He's
for
like,
them.
what? He's like, what are you talking
Dude,
about?
they're glued in.
You like it, guys?
I love it.
Good.
It looks great.
So right here, some Calyx probs, right? So I just need to come in here and create some space here and start to clear them out for her. The reason why I'm able to get rid of these Calyx is because they're going to annoy her when she goes home. So I'm just going to come in here and literally start to cut them out a little bit.
Sandra says hello.
Yeah, what up? What up, Sandra? What's up, girl? How you living? Again, I'm just going to use my monitor to look and check for balance and see if my line's clean enough. It's not.
That's sick, right? Usually cut off mirror, right? Cut off
Usually cut off a mirror. So if you guys notice, I'm pausing and then I'm kind of waiting for the monitor to catch up just a little bit. Yo, by the way, huge shout out to Amber for sitting so still. Seriously. She's been like an angel, dude. Thank you, Amber. Oh, shh. Okay. Now we'll go ahead in and just start to detail out that top shape.
And we have a viewer from France.
Hey, what's up? What part of France are you from? And so right now, oh, give me this. Yeah, perfect. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm just point cutting that layer, right? Just coming in, point cutting that. Notice when I point cut, I'm still using my original sectioning. I'm still using tension, right? I'm not coming in here and lazily dropping my section or anything like that. I'm just literally coming in to refine and to break up these lines and to soften them just a bit. So I'll come in and I'll hold the hair and then I'll just spread my knuckles out to fan. And we'll wrap. You like that? The MUA is representing, dude. And they thought you were just a MUA. She knows. She knows. So again, same line, same over direction, right? Just literally breaking up those edges. And what this is going to do, it's just going to allow for better styling. Again, when we cut the hair wet and blunt, when it dries, those ends expand. And so the hair starts to kind of shelf. What this is also going to do is help us to break up that color a little bit. Because it's sitting so straight and so down right now, the color doesn't look fantastic based on the new cut. And so this is going to help us soften that. And you'll see that as we style it, it'll start to blend and camouflage. So we'll fringe, which will be last, and we'll close out with that. Do we have any questions? We probably got about 10 minutes left, guys.
I feel like this will be the most blended, most straight haircut.
She's gonna have some options.
It feels so good just
You like
combing it
it?
already. Yeah.
What's that?
Lily wants to know how many layers can you put.
How many layers? Can I ask you if you're a client or a stylist?
3.
So, what?
Let me check something.
Mic off? Battery died. It feels good, Steve.
Tired.
That feels good.
Oh, I like salon. I'm back on. Battery should be. Do mic check.
Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay, now we're good.
All right, sick. I always wanted to be a rapper.
Yeah, it's crazy. Old people like go nuts on audio. Can't hear audio.
Okay, can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now
What up, Sprint? I could be your next hear me now guy.
we're good. Yep,
All right, cool. And so what I was saying before, oh, you asked me how many layers. So here's the deal. I'm going to assume maybe you're a client who asked that question, and it's totally okay. One thing that I'd love for you to know out there, if you're not a client, and all hairstylists would love for you to know, layers don't come in like 1, 2, and 3. They don't come with a supersized shake or a side of fries. Layering is a technique that we use, and it's popularly described as a technique for removing weight. So what a layer can do for you is it can add space into your haircut and give you a lot of options for movement and such. What we can't do for you is give you 1, 2, or 3 of them. And so if you're familiar with the dialogue and you're working with a 1, 2, or 3 layer dialogue or whatever it is, what I would do is I'd ask your stylist, what is a layer and how could that benefit my haircut? But great question. Yeah. Fringe time. So I'm going to section out here. And what I'm doing while I'm sectioning is I'm looking at density. You guys can't see. I want you guys to see this because I'm looking at density. Because our hair is finer, I need to come back a little bit further with my sectioning to create a dense enough fringe. Do you dig? And so what we're going to do, as per Amber's request, we're going to create what we'll refer to as a bit of a visor fringe, right? So everybody knows what a visor looks like. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take that concept and we're going to create a fringe and we're going to cut it right into the length. And so what I mean by that is this length on the side is going to live right into the fringe, okay? Oh, yeah, my tag, okay, cool. That's why you said a hat. It's just a tag from my Puma hat. I put a sticker on it. So this technique is not the most salon friendly, right? Not everybody wants a super, super short micro fringe. For those of your guests that do, this is how I would go about it. If you have a young child or a guest that is young and wears a bob, this is the most fantastic thing for them because kids always have hair in their face. So by taking a visor section, as we're calling it, right, and all it really is a vertical section right around the hairline, what this will do is they'll keep the hair out of their face. Cool. And so we want to create a fringe that's balanced, but not too strong. Amber's face being a little bit more square, if we put a really strong fringe on it, it would create a little too much strength. So I want to keep the fringe soft, so the shape will be round, and we're going to point it in. We're not going to cut it super, super blunt. So let me just go back here and see on the thing. Am I blocking?
No, you're good. You're good right there.
I don't want to block this, but I do. It's good. Oh, hey, girl. How you living? How you living? Exactly. You hate me, Amber? Yeah, just for the record, she literally requested these. So if she doesn't like them, it's on her. Sorry, bro. So I'm going to leave this as a disconnect because I can. Am I standing in front yet?
You're good. You're just over the shoulder shot.
Sandra from France says, ooh la la.
Oui, oui.
Is there a reason that you leave the middle piece?
You didn't hear?
No.
I said I'm going to disconnect that because I can.
I was on around.
I mean, just because I can. I'll cut it off in a minute maybe, but doesn't that look cooler than not cutting it off?
Leave it.
Yeah, and then we come in and point cut this.
Yes.
Yes. Hey, girl. I don't know.
Those bangs are giving me life.
It's lit.
Her eyes are gorgeous. I know.
It's too, you didn't know until we cut that fringe.
Her eyes are incredible.
Oh, Amber.
Say, oh my God,
Okay,
what's she
what
doing?
is the model name? Can I have her number?
You want to put some want on her?
Mm.
Whoa, okay. All right. Yeah, we'll hook you guys up after.
Yeah, everyone on chat's losing it right now. They're saying, oh my God, this is awesome.
Oh, sick.
They totally did not expect this.
Oh, cool. Well, I told you guys I was gonna go to Fringe. Come on.
No, I am. I'm looking at her like those big
She'd be a great
eyes,
makeup.
those lids.
Yeah, so
I want to get my
it's funny.
ass.
Whoa.
I'm gonna latch it up.
It's funny
brow it up.
that she likes her eyes, because that's, to me, that's like what makes the best model is someone with really good eyes. And Amber's got beautiful eyes.
Do you know who she looks like? Divergent.
I'm not familiar.
You know Divergent.
I might.
Okay, what's her name?
Divergent.
Her name. Shailene Woodley.
What is she in?
Thank you.
You look like Shailene
Love her.
Woodley.
What is she in?
Divergent. And she was in.
That's a thing?
She was in the show.
Something of ours. The movie.
The Fault in Our Stars.
Oh, I don't watch the movies.
You don't watch the movies?
Not really.
Okay. Well, she is a huge
Sorry.
actress right now. And
She's so
that's
cool.
what your model looks like. She's awesome.
All right.
And you would love Divergent. It's such a
We'll
badass.
see.
I never seen like her eyelids, right? That we just
No, you're beautiful.
Do my makeup.
I would love to. I'm just going there right now.
This is why I want to keep makeup here. I might keep makeup here just to have, you know?
No, you should.
Steven, we know why you want to keep makeup here.
No,
You can keep it here.
I'm gonna get more.
That was awesome.
What's that, Ryan?
JK.
Everyone's still losing it. They're like, oh my god, Tommy, the face review.
They're losing it?
Yeah, they really like that too.
Oh, I had her face all over. I had her face covered for a while, huh? Guys, we wanted to make it super special for you. Come on. So as we're wrapping up this fringe and detail work, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. This is the first time I've really ever done anything like this live, but not live, which is kind of trippy. I want to thank Steven 100%, the salon guy, for having me at the studio. It's absolutely perfect and fantastic. But really, thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for all of your questions. This wouldn't have been as fun if it wasn't for all of that action. And so at this point right here, I've cut her fringe, right? But now I still have the layering from up top that I could kind of play with and maneuver and manipulate and decide, do I want this to hang over and veil over, or do I want the fringe to live as the focal point for the front? It's still too long, so I'm gonna start to chip away at this.
Did it comment save when it's posted? No. I was about to say, just read back. Somebody was requesting like going take your hat off now.
Take my hat off. Hey, I mean, I can.
Show in the hair game, bro.
I probably got
You're getting all that hype right now.
a hat here. It's
Dude,
okay.
All these people are like going ballistic. You know,
Thanks, guys.
The fringe is amazing. The fringe is amazing.
Good call.
Take your hat off.
Someone's quoting "cause I can." Like already, like. But,
I mean,
like, hashtag "cause I can."
hashtag because I can.
Because they can.
We should make that a thing.
Mhm.
I mean, listen, if you could do things, why not? Take your hat off. That's new for me. I like that. That's hot. No one's ever asked me that before. Take your hat off. All right. So again, just finishing this up. And this is just hanging over that fringe, right? Just creating a little bit more texture and giving her more options for when she's styling.
Up, everyone watching here. I know I see the comments. They're going, "Hey, salon guy, salon guy." I've been behind the camera watching the whole time.
He's been in the building.
I've been the man behind the camera, but he is doing an amazing job. And to see this live here, also because he's a true professional, which is great. So I'm really happy to have Ryan here with us tonight. And like everyone's going nuts over the bangs, over the glaze girls and guys are watching. You know what that is?
Oh yeah, what up? What
What's
up?
going on?
Dude, everyone's now
Glaze.
hashtag because I can is already happening.
Yeah, let's make it a thing. Hashtag because I can.
And he said to hit you up on Instagram, hashtag because I can.
Yeah, maybe I'll change my name.
Right now, the chat's going crazy with haircut, Amber, and hashtag because I can.
Sick. Hashtag because I can.
Poppin'.
Sorry guys, I just really want to make this haircut perfect. And the one thing I will say, if you tuned in the entire time, and for those of you that are here live that are probably just dying to get out of here and go home, this is the difference for me between doing a good haircut and a great haircut. It's like, how good are you going to finish this? What kind of icing are you going to put on this cake, you know? And why? And sometimes it comes down to hashtag because I can. Like, because Amber gave me creative freedom, I have the opportunity now to really do whatever I'd like with her hair. Yeah, that's cool.
Winter says she wants to have your haircut done by you. She's original policy and your voice is perfect.
Oh, who said that?
Winter.
Thanks, Winter.
I think I did fall asleep.
What's really funny is I have problems falling asleep. Maybe I should record myself telling myself to fall asleep.
You know, I went to a hair because we've both been like platform artists, and I was at a show a long time ago. There was a guy cutting hair on stage, and as an assistant like this. This is all the assistant did was waiting for hair to go on her face. Like I was like, what the heck? I was like 22 when I saw that. I was like, what the hell?
It's funny. I try not to use an assistant too much for that reason. Like I don't want someone to stand there and feel like dumb. Here's that hashtag because I can piece. We'll come back to that.
I like that one.
Is that going to be like the new Obama? Yes, we can. Can we make it that big? Can we get it that lit?
He's gonna make bangs great again. Okay.
I'm dead. Yeah, I will say Steven doesn't mean Trump.
Thank me.
You said with your voice, you should do ASMR videos.
ASMR. Do I know what that means?
It's like those whisper videos. It's kind of like.
Sounds sexual. I don't know. Is it?
What is that?
ASMR?
It's like whispering from the mic.
I'll check it out on the Google machine when I go home. ASMR. Yo, we're gonna Google that in the car.
Okay. Got you.
You're right.
Assistant, where's my little? Where'd he go? No, not her, Steven.
Oh.
She always thinks I'm making fun of her, this girl.
I'm like, you know what? I'm not.
This guy. Thank you. Oh wait, I don't think I know how to use this. That's it? Am I like smacking you in the face, Amber?
Yeah.
Cool.
Dude, you gotta be like Rush Bay right now.
Oh, that's better. Yo, Salt Bay, I think he's opened up a restaurant. He's opened up a restaurant in the city. Real talk.
Really?
Salt Bay, yeah. Yeah, 56th. Check it out. Sprinkle it up. Yeah, I saw that last night. It said hashtag Salt Bay coming soon.
Okay, nuts.
Put a quick what?
Oh my god, I wonder how bad.
I'd love
Oh
that.
my
Can
god,
we
it's
have
on.
a- can we use that salon guy?
Yeah, you want to blow by all that work you did?
That's true.
He just,
Okay, girl.
she's good for like 2 weeks.
That's a
You
good
wanna-
video.
We'll be all right.
Point.
And I know you've been explaining this, really taking your time doing it, which is great, but like, say if you weren't doing this live, would you still be taking this long to do it? Like, would you be really put this much effort into it? I mean,
Great question. I think the time that I put into a haircut all depends on who's in my chair. And again, remember we talked earlier about a Gucci t-shirt and an H&M t-shirt? Be able to give your clients a Gucci t-shirt. Be able to give them a high-end experience. Be able to give them as close to a perfect haircut as you can, but also be able to give them an express H&M haircut. So I could do the same haircut, technically sound, with probably 45 minutes to an hour less of detail work, right? And give that to a regular salon guest. But if I have the time and I'm able to use it, this is what I'm going to do. I think I got to stop now, right? And there's always like that limit where like we want to keep working, but it's time. We've done enough. So what I'm going to do to finish off here is I just want to show off the layering and the texture. I'm just going to spray a little bit of a texture spray in here. So wet hairspray. Paul Mitchell's Neon Sugar Confection. And so I love this product because I'm not a great styler, right? Like I could smooth hair, I could finish hair. I'm not a great styler. This product really gives me an opportunity to kind of grit up the hair and get that texture that I'm looking for. So I'll let that sit for a second. Where's my brush? Here it is. Can I put my hat back on or no?
Yeah.
I feel so like done when I'm.
Yes. Is that crazy?
What?
What'd you say? Green brows? Oh, right now?
Oh, green brows would be
I
lit.
kind of see it a little bit.
It does smell really
Sugar.
good. Yeah. Sugar confection. That's Paul Mitchell Neon right there. It's a good styling product. What I like about it is that for the guest, it's very low retail pricing. It's very affordable. Yeah, it's very affordable for our guests. So I love that. And so just in styling here, finishing up, I had a lot of fun tonight. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll probably take some still pics of this and I'll post them on my Instagram page. Sorry, I'm just trying to use the camera as a mirror. I don't want to. I'd rather use the real mirror in front of me. Thank you, Jack. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you had a fantastic time. I know that I did. Steven, again, thank you for having me. Guys, if you want to see some still shots of her, you're going to follow at #Runchi, RUNECHI, at invincible.ny, where we're actually those chokers that we talked about earlier. We're going to style her with one of those, take some still shots. And last but not least, #CauseICan. Steven, thank you for having me.
Of course, man.
Studio's beautiful, dude.
Thank you.
Everybody come on down, check it out. It's in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Very good old friend of mine, and just thank you so much for having me.
It's been great to have you.
Thank you.
And everyone that watched tonight, like people literally were glued all an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, man.
Thank you,
glued
guys. Thanks for staying,
to
guys.
this. And like people are asking questions. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see more professional based stuff like this. Because like I don't bring a lot of people on my channel for this type of stuff, but I want to. You know what I mean? That's usually just me grinding away, doing it over and over again.
And he grinds for sure, yeah.
But I want to feature people. You know what I mean? It's always about me. I want to feature other people. So let me know if you want to see more professional tutorials like this, like people that are real true hairstylists that want to share their expertise. If you want a more professionally focused, you know,
right,
like more in depth, like more technical stuff, like our lingo, let me know if you want to see that. But I think we are good, man. Any last comments or what are people saying, Johnny? Anything like?
Yo, cause I can. Make cause I can happen, please.
You're all saying yes, dude. People are saying yes. They want to see this.
Oh, they
More
do?
professional stuff, man.
Oh, I thought they meant like.
How would you feel about doing a men's haircut on here?
Oh, I love men's haircut. Yeah, scissors though, not clipper.
Nah, dude, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I like to. Yeah, I love to do that.
Let us know if you want to see Ryan do a men's haircut, man. Like he could do a sick men. He's a
sick one. Where's that Jordan kid? Hoodie Jordan kid from before.
Yeah.
Come on in. You could be my model. I'll hook you up, bro.
Thailand or something.
Fly on out.
But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Amber, for being a model, and everyone that came down. Please don't forget, you can rewatch this over and over again. It's a long video, but he dropped some serious knowledge in this video tonight.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank you.
he laid it down, man, big time. You know, hashtag because he can.
Because I can. Because I can.
Because he can. But anyway, thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you very, very soon. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Ciao, Bella.